be that. So I don't think we're waiting for anyone else. So we'll begin the meeting. Roll call. I have written it all down. I'm sure Mark has as well. Um, Mark, I didn't see the meeting minutes. Did I just miss it?
Yeah, I
That's the
think
agenda.
they were attached. I printed a copy of the packet, and
Okay.
there's minutes in here.
The email you sent on January 12th was the agenda. Which when did you send the minutes on the previous email?
No, it should have been the entire agenda packet, which included the minutes.
Oh, okay. So you have 14 pages. So I assume it's
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So if you just scroll through that after you get past the agenda, then there's the
Yep.
minutes, and
Request for task
Oh,
there's
force. Yep. There's a lot of stuff. There's the minutes.
yeah,
Yep.
there's
I
a
I'm sorry. I did go through that. Yeah, the new system. So for those who didn't know or maybe were missed a meeting in the beginning, they have a help me if I'm wrong, Mark, like an AI type thing that listens to our voices and records everything. So it's quite it's quite long.
yeah. Well, and the town has changed the format a little bit. There has to be a background page for each agenda item
Right.
because simply listing, discussion, let's see, phase one referendum updates and next steps. There has to be a more of a description, which adds another page to
Yes.
the packet. And then, yeah, I did include in this particular packet something that we had talked about at the meeting in November, and also included uh, the 2025 calendar of uh, all the different key referendum dates, just so that people were aware of that, and also included. Uh, also included the whole schedule of um, and all of the different steps for the bonding ordinance referendum. So
Right.
yeah, just to give folks a reminder of all the different pieces because we ran into this issue. Uh, the first go round is that we tried to different ways to get the word out, and um, at that point we're kind of restricted in what we could do because the referendum language was already out. Um, this particular time, prior to the referendum language being voted on and approved, we can, um, be a lot more aggressive in what we're trying to do to, promote the second referendum.
Yeah, I do see all that now. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, I used to send them. I used to send them as separate attachments, and now the person that does it just rolls it all into one
That's fine.
package. So
That's fine. It's great. No, it's fine. Can't blame you for me being stupid. Okay, so we need to vote on. So we have a quorum. We have one, two, three. So
yep.
that's good. So we need to vote on approval of the minutes from November's meeting. I need a um
I'll make the
someone
motion.
to
Right.
motion. Danny,
Yeah, I'll make the
motion,
motion.
good. Second, I can second it
Oh,
if
I'll
you want.
second
Hazel,
too.
Hazel raised her hand.
Hazel, good. Um, any discussion?
I did notice one thing. I just caught it. The Rich's last name was spelled incorrectly under roll call.
Ah, what was it? Was it C?
Yeah, they spelled it with a C. So I've already made that note. So any approval of the minutes would require um, language that
Yeah.
says as amended.
So
Okay.
yeah, I would make that motion that approval with the amendment in the correction of Casca from a C to a K.
Yeah, it looks like it's in at least one other location also.
Me?
Okay.
Probably that AI.
Yeah.
Probably true. Okay, no other discussion? All in favor? One, two, Danny?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, three yeses, zero no's, zero abstains. Um, I think I only see six participants, so it looks like we don't have any other public input at this time, or public comment. Okay, so
Mark has his hand
go
up.
ahead. What's that?
Mark has his hand up.
Uh, well, if I did, it was by accident.
Oh, no, sorry. That's my mouse.
Oh,
When it moves over your area, it puts a hand for some reason instead of a pointer.
That's so funny. Okay, so I was hoping, new business, um, phase one referendum updates, next steps. I was just looking for, if, Mark had any update on where we are. My guess is maybe not, but I thought it'd be a good place to start, Mark.
sure. So the RFQ, request for qualifications, is due at the end of this month. So another couple of weeks. Once we have that in, um, there will be a group that will probably include myself, Frank, uh, Sam from high school, I think the town manager. Um, and I guess the interim director at Public Works, or maybe one of their engineers, will be on a selection committee. So we'll develop a short list and then identify, um, well, from that short list, send out invitations to different organizations or different consulting groups to make a presentation. And then the town would negotiate a price. So that's what's going to happen over the next few months. I don't
Okay.
have the full schedule. I think we all went over that the last time.
Yep.
The
Yep.
full schedule. I don't have that in front of me, but that's the things that I recall that are coming up over the next couple of months.
Mark,
Mark,
the
go
last
ahead. I'm
time it
sorry. Go ahead,
was
Rich. I'm sorry.
Frank and Danny and myself were on that panel when we moved forward to the other time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is a public works project. So they're kind of running the show as far as who may be on the interview panel and things like that.
Got it.
So Mark, just in case, so I will be out of the country the week of the 15th through the 21st, like the 13th through the like 21st. So if it happens that week and they would like someone else from the committee or from the task force, feel free to have one of those, have someone else on there if that makes the process go faster.
Okay. And that's February 13th to the,
13th through the 21st. Yes.
okay.
I do not in any way want to slow down progress.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Um, sorry. So the second part was phase two.
Well, wait a minute,
Go
Frank,
ahead.
if
Go
we could
ahead.
slow down just a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fine.
so I did, we're poking fun at AI, but I did put in the entire schedule of what's going to take place over the next 2 years. And I said, okay, AI, develop a social media campaign to keep interest in this project. And I included that in the packet. So I don't know if people looked at it, but it's kind of a starting point. It says draft on it,
Yep.
just so that people don't become disconnected. We had 2/3 of those folks that voted in favor of it, and it's important that we kind of keep them informed. And this was kind of the what AI generated as far as suggestions for making posts, just keeping people connected to the project. Um, Even though it's already passed, I think it's our responsibility to um, keep people up to date on what's happening. And I think that it kind of plays into phase two. Um, if we're keeping people informed, uh, that could potentially support. They would recognize that and support perhaps phase two because, like, oh, they're keeping us informed, and they just didn't take our money, and then we never hear from them.
Mark, I think that's important because I've already, encountered people up at the high school saying, "Hey, passed all this money. What's going on? There's nothing going on here."
Right, and yeah, so exactly, and so I think it's letting them know what's going on. Why are we doing an RFQ?
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to find the best consulting group that we can, to give us uh, the best product, if you will. So um, anyway, our community outreach coordinator can certainly work on this. It's not a real heavy lift, as you can see. Like under phase one, it's 1 to 2 posts a month. So that's um, just keeping an awareness of the project and the status as we move forward.
I think the task will become a whole lot easier when there's shovels in the ground, but that's a ways off as we
Yeah,
all
that's
know.
right. That's a year away.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I did want to share one other thing with you. So on Tuesday night, the town council, um, whenever there's a new council, they set goals for the upcoming. I think they did it for 1 year. Sometimes they do it for their 2 year term. Um, and their number one council goal was the athletic fields master plan, determine next steps in phasing for athletic fields. So that is, and there was 9 different council goals, and that was the top council goal. So, the council is certainly um, interested in seeing this project move forward and be successful and address the issues that have been well identified at the high school. I also want to let you know that there is some concern. The town is not going to kind of take action and actually request the money until after the bids come in because they don't want to be in a situation where, oh yeah, we've taken on the burden of $14 million, but we find out that all the bids came in at 20 and now we're $6 million short. So there may be some hesitancy in moving forward with phase two next year, which I think was the original plan, was for the next 4 years. There may be some hesitancy and some desire to wait until after the bids come in, which and like I said, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think those bids would come in after next November. So potentially phase two could be not next year, excuse me, but the year after. Nothing like that's been decided. It's just, there's been a number of projects in town that have come in. We budgeted one amount and all of the bids came in higher, and the town is trying to avoid that situation for this particular project.
Okay.
It would be be tough for me to argue that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it makes common. You would do that in your household,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, I
Right.
want to redo my house, but it went from 10,000 to 20,000. So whoa, time. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um,
So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that with the group in case there was, because our original plan was, okay, 2025, we're going to go out for bond, 2026, we're going to go out for bond, 2027. And there are some people involved in this process that may just want to put a pause. But there's more than one person that makes this decision. And so we'll just, I guess maybe this group needs to decide, well, by waiting 2 years, is that going to jeopardize, what was planned at Clodchester? Um, and is there an alternative argument that we move forward, with the project,
Well,
not
phase two,
knowing
like phase
not
one,
knowing what phase one is going to be?
yeah, I think for the public, until you spend some of the money on phase one, if they're going to another vote, it's going to be hard to get buy-in right away until they see
Yeah,
progress.
right. Yeah,
yeah, I feel like if you need to have that locked in, I mean, prior you have to go through all the steps along the way. But if that number comes in significantly higher later, I mean, how do you say, yeah, I would agree with what Danny's saying. Like, how do you go forward with that right away when you don't know what? I don't think they would want to do that.
right.
I don't think they'll let it get that far.
Yeah,
So I guess the sooner the better, right? Obviously.
Yeah, we just
yeah,
got to get phase one going.
Right. Interesting. Um, Mark, can I ask you another question?
sure.
Moving forward, um, would it help if you invited the communications person in your office to our meetings to kind of when we bounce things like ideas on what we want to try to do as we move forward? Um, I don't know how that all works in your office. Um, I'm not trying to. I just we sometimes bounce these thoughts and I think if that person was here, it might help just from a. I can give you that answer right now because this is what I do for a living.
Yeah,
Just a thought down the
yeah,
road.
yeah, yeah. I think her name is Denise, and I think she would. I don't think that's a bad idea.
Mark, I have a question. So,
Yeah,
um, you know, Chad's firm provided us with pretty solid numbers on phase one. Um, and those were prepared probably at least 6 months ago, maybe a little longer.
right.
When we do move ahead with referendum for phase two, um, how does those numbers get updated? Is Chad's firm obliged by contract to do that, or does that have to go out to um, another update somehow.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be, Kenton Frost, or, it could be the consulting group that we hire for phase one. Um, you know, and as we go through the process, I think we'll start to see, oh, because we are talking about a synthetic field, I think at Clodchester. Um, so we may be able to say, okay, well, and I'm just throwing out numbers. We budgeted $1.5 million for the synthetic fields. Well, actually, we find that as we go through phase one, the synthetic field is, 2.25. So we would start to, there'd be some adjustments there, but that's a really good question, and certainly whenever the council decides to move forward with the next referendum, we would have to make sure that the budget numbers are updated. Yeah.
I think each phase is going to have a different consulting team selected. Could be the same team, but each phase, I think you have to vote all over again, right?
Uh, that's another great question. Boy, you guys are really sharp tonight. What's this New Year's resolution?
Well, no, you have in your draft consultant selection. So it sounds like, even though they won the first phase, there's no guarantee they'll get selected the second phase.
Yeah, that's probably too true, Danny. But I'm not. You're probably right, but I don't know for sure. I would have to go back and look at the language in the RFP um, and there was no guarantee that the next three referendums could all fail.
That's right. So
This may be as
taking
far as
phase
we get.
one,
Yeah,
just let's get phase one on the ground, and then we'll have a leg
yeah,
to stand on before we move forward.
right. Yep.
Before we move on with phase one, to phase two, excuse me. Um, I did get a phone call or a tech email from the Connecticut Examiner. I think I said this the last time. I may have said it. So she reached back out to me in January, and she's looking for some students slash people who are affected by how this is working and how these new fields will help and so forth and so on. Um, and I owe her a couple of names. I think I might have said, Hazel, that I was going to probably um, use you as one kind of person who's involved deeply. Um, and also, you have children in the younger system, which I understand. I'm also going to give them my son-in-law's name, Alex Lee, who has two children, coaches, again, like Hazel, probably coaches two or three teams. I don't even know anymore. Um, and Rich, I sent a couple weeks ago, I sent Romano a note about a couple students. Um,
Well,
I did speak to Carson Wheeler tonight. His sister plays on Peyton's on the middle school team with his mom there. And I just kind of talked about what she's really looking for input from people who are using the fields, not Frank Narosky about the task force. That was more about the life and how it's going to change people kind of thing.
Frank, I'll, you can invite her through me to
Right.
come to any of my track practices. Now we're having indoor practices down there right now. So she could, talk to any of those kids, boys or girls,
Right.
that are involved with using that facility right now.
So, Rich, do you think that you could send me a couple of, well, I don't want to like overstep, right? I want to make sure parents understand that, what their kid's name's going to be in the paper.
Yeah.
If you could ask one or two, and I want to also reach out ensure that we probably get one or two, if both of them is fine with me, female athletes.
Yep,
Um, and to have them and just if you talk to them and everybody's okay with it, just send me an email or something with their email addresses,
I will do that.
and I'll forward it to her. I was out last week kind of unexpectedly. I had to go on a trip that I wasn't really expecting, so I probably owe her an answer. Um, and then we can. I think that she sounds very positive. It's just like, how's this affecting everyone? She definitely did not want to speak to me. It was more about the student athletes and how it was going to help them, affect them, what they've gone through. That sounded like that kind of thing.
I,
Um, and you could just send it to me, on an email anytime you want once you
I
get through to
will,
them. That'd be great.
I will do that. That's
And
really a
Hazel, you're okay with that?
pretty easy thing.
I'm okay with it. Just something of note is that I mean Alex has a younger son, but his
Yep.
daughter, my daughter, and Carson's younger sister are all the same age and all play on the same team for soccer. They all play other sports, but they're
That's
not
true too.
all on the field. So if you wanted somebody with a younger child, um,
No, I think I need older. I
older,
think
yeah,
that's,
well, yeah,
yeah,
okay,
I got
yeah.
older ones,
yeah.
lots of them.
Rich
I
has
just
all
thought
the,
I'd let you know.
yep. No, 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 I know. No, but I think especially your point of view with actually being the scheduler, I think you live it even more than others in your organization and within other organizations. So,
Yeah, and I help out a lot with the younger, I help Rich with the younger age groups too.
yep,
So that and
perfect,
playing on the outdoor pickup, adult pickup too. So
perfect. Okay. No, so if you guys could send me that, Hazel, I should have your email. I have Alex, and then Rich, you. Um, I have Stephanie Wheeler's for the Wheeler family. Give me a couple more names, and I'll forward them. That'd be great.
Sounds good.
And you can, and I understand the high school is Romano's always busy, so I'm not concerned that he didn't answer my email. I got it. He's probably
Yeah,
gets
don't wait for his
8,000. I'm
reply.
good.
Actually, with those particular kids, I have daily input with them. I see them
Perfect.
every day. So,
Right.
and I have,
Great.
kids that play football, and I have girls that, I have a wide variety. So I'll get you 3 or 4 names.
Perfect. And the other thing I had the question for Mark, how do you think I was reading the AI thing, which I understand. What is your thoughts on how to actually send the information about phase one out? Like post it on the website, the Parks and Rec, or send out those blasts like you did like right before the vote, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think it would be multiple platforms. What you were just talking about, the Connecticut Examiner, I think that's just one way of keeping the level of awareness, presence of mind about the project up. We've got, I don't know, Rich, does the high school have, I'm not on Facebook. Do they have a Facebook page?
Yeah, they have a person who's in charge of communication and that type of thing. And they
Oh,
have
okay.
they have a system called Parent Connect, and that goes out to
Okay.
everybody, and they send
Yeah.
out blasts all the time on that.
Okay. So I think, utilizing Facebook, Instagram, the newspaper, um, the Parent Connect, if that's possible, um, and also, the town webpage, um, just so that we're we're getting the message out in a number of different ways.
Perfect. Yeah, because I actually, like I said, when I was talking to those folks tonight at the middle school game, they had 14 questions and 14 turned into 20 questions. And, you know,
Yeah,
in Carson's case, who's a freshman, I said, well, sophomore year, you'll be good. Junior year, you're probably not going to have a field, but you'll have a field senior year. That's kind of the
Right.
way as laid out as we speak.
right.
So
Yep.
that was like, oh, good. You know what I mean? It was like, all right. So when it kicked off and when you talked about it, that was great because that kind of kicked off my thought was like, oh yeah, he doesn't know that. So good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Um, so we good with phase one? We don't have any other questions? Anything? Um, so moving to phase two, the thoughts were, which we started to hit on a little bit. So, it sounds like the town council is in our is pushing it, obviously, with being the number one goal. That's terrific. Um, what are people's thoughts on what we should do um, to start the process, if you would? I don't have an answer to that. I'm just curious on what you guys think about what would be a good, I mean, yeah, could we, can we get the Parks and Rec room and say, hey, come, let's talk about phase two and what we're going to do. Just set up a date and blast the emails out there, that kind of thing. Keep continuing to do stuff like that. I don't know how much we can do. Like, Mark, you'd have to make me smarter. Like, um, the town council, like, they have to like say this is what we want to do before we actually get to the point where we can tell people this is what we want to do. It's actually right their call, if you would.
It
Uh,
is. Yeah. I mean, they made, we presented to them a schedule um, with, I think, four different phases. Now there's a couple of new council members. Um, Clearly, the athletic fields is a priority for them, but it could be that uh, the phases change. Um, what we described in phase two, the council may decide, that actually that ought to be phase four or whatever. So I think it certainly wouldn't hurt to have the athletic fields task force kind of put together a letter expressing what their what their desires are for phase two, um, and just keep the council informed on um, what we think, what and why we think, what was proposed, I don't know, a year ago from the
mm,
athletic fields task force, what we feel ought to be part of phase two and why.
okay.
And then at some
I
point, the council would, um, you know, discuss that, and perhaps it would be a joint meeting, or I don't know. But I think, um, if I think we came up with the four phases for a reason, and the sequence was for a reason. And so I think, um, you know, they probably need to be reminded of that because they're dealing with lots of different issues.
Okay. I will take action to I'll write a letter. Um, I'll send it to all of us um, for editing and my misspellings because I'm not good at that. AI doesn't know me yet. Um, and we'll do that. And we'll send it from the task force. It won't come from me. It will come from the task force. So I will do
Right.
that and I'll send it to everyone to look at and um, change and edit and we'll come up with something. I think that's a great idea, Mark.
Yeah.
Um,
And it probably also wouldn't hurt to, as we come up with kind of these different social media posts, to put in, to let them know that we're also thinking ahead. And when I say them, I mean the community, letting the community know that we're thinking ahead and why, we're thinking in that particular direction. So essentially taking the information that was in the letter to the council, and clearly much shorter, much more concise, but at least planting the seed that our idea of the next phase is the the school and Colchester and why.
Now, do you
Good.
think it's important sooner or later for like the youth sports to come out? I mean, I would say soccer club, lacrosse, football. I mean, they were coming out for that project. I mean,
Yep.
they're going to be happy with the high school for a small number of them that are on the high school teams. But I think the majority of the sport was to expand their field access, which all comes in phase 2.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, I think um, the council's going to listen to what the community is saying, and so if there's letters from a number of different youth sports organizations that are in support of whatever they want to see, I think the council's going to take that to heart when they're having a discussion and kind of making a decision about what's included in phase 2.
Sorry, I was just writing a note.
And I did pull up the RFQ that's out there for the bids, and it doesn't mention phase 2 or anything. It's really mentions just the high school work. So it doesn't look like any of those firms would be helping with phase 2. So is that something that needs to be bid out again as well, or did Ken Frost give us everything we need to kind of go through a second round of that?
Well, I don't know
Yeah, I
if he
don't.
gave us everything, but I know that Chad knows, he planned all 4 phases with us.
Yeah, at just a conceptual level, you know, what whatever consulting firm is hired to take us through the permitting process and do, the design, that's a much higher level than just conceptual design, which is all we asked of Kenton Frost. Just kind of give us the 30,000-foot picture, and now we're going to be hiring a firm that's going to be zeroing in on all the details. What size column are the posts going to be on that are going to support the stadium seating, and all of those minute little details. And that will, well, I don't have the schedule in front of me. That'll probably take 6 months or so to do all of that. All the electrical, all the plumbing, all of that is going to take hundreds of hours.
Right.
And that's what a construction company will be bidding on.
Can I ask, I'm ignorant on this. Which firm did the current turf field that's up at middle school?
I have no idea.
Don't know.
Mark Romano might have known, but
Okay,
I
I'll ask him.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't.
That came along with the building of the middle school. I
Yeah.
don't know what firm did that, but that was completely paid for out of that bond that paid for that middle school improvement.
Yeah.
So this is somewhat why it's first priority becomes the middle school and then the high school. So that's where that is.
I guess I have another question too, so now is a good time to ask. So in terms of determining for phase 2, how much of a tax bite it's going to take out of people's taxes, that's not going to come along until later that we'll be able to determine that first of all, now from what you're saying, it sounds as like we might have to wait based on phase one, and then by that point, possibly those things could change. But also, there's some grants and whatnot in there that could offset the cost of phase two, so that could change things. But we really wouldn't have a monetary number for people until when, do you think?
Well, I mean, we have one number now, for the next four phases, but you know, the further you get away from the date that those numbers were set, the less accurate they are. And yeah, it could be a little while before we have good numbers. I mean, you could always, say, oh, construction went up another 7% this year, and apply that across the board to the number that we have now. But it would serve us well, I think, to, in whatever way we could, try to get as accurate a number as we possibly can, so that we avoid a situation where, I think next year was another $14 million, and again, if it comes in at 16 or 18, then that's not a situation that the town wants to be in.
Yeah.
And there's a
And
lot
so
of factors besides,
how exactly how we get to that number, I think, is yet to be determined.
and things come off the books in the future. Hopefully, you don't get things that add on that could potentially lower it as well.
I feel like this is the biggest question that I'm getting from people when I talk about this is, the cost.
Yeah. All they could do is give you tax implications for phase one. Phase two, you don't know until you get closer. It's impossible.
So
Mark.
Hazel, are the questions about phase two, how much that is going to cost? Is that
Yeah, I mean, because of the circles that I run in, there's not
Yeah.
many people that use the high school. It's all,
sure? Yeah,
Pequannock. So they want to know about Clodchester.
right, right.
So if I'm not mistaken, um, the town manager came with those numbers probably a month before, two
I,
months
I felt
before.
like it
It was
was
pretty
right.
late.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
late. Yeah.
We were very happy to get those numbers because that's the number everybody wants, right? I mean,
That's what was in the presentation at the senior center,
right, right,
and that's what was also in the vote. That those
right.
details.
But it's the
So
question is, when did we get that? We
right,
got
well,
that
just
kind of
just before.
probably
So
August, September,
that would be the
September,
same for
probably
phase.
October.
Right, it'll be the same for phase two. It's going to be
Yeah,
just before.
yeah,
So there's no
right,
way you can tell them a year in advance what that's going to be. There's no
right,
way.
right. And Mark, I know you and Chad had talked earlier in the last 3 or 4 months, 6 months. Um, and I'm just not savvy enough. Like the grant process, and you guys had talked about what was you had initials for it, a CIF grant. Like, do we know things like that prior to it, or is that something that doesn't ha can't happen until we've said it's okay to? So the residents vote for phase two, and they say it's okay to we'll spend 14.5 again, but yet there's this grant out there that's going to cut that number from, I don't know, we'll just say 5 million or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
Um, when does that happen? Like, do things like that have to be approved before they can actually get the grant? Or can you throw that into the process as you're along the way? And I know that part of it has to do with the council, and I've read things on some of the comments that we've put out there about Facebook. There's a gentleman in the city who keeps ranting and raving about this money that we're trying to give to the task force or to the fields that's going other places and so forth and so on. And it gets too deep for me, but
Yeah.
how does that play into it? Like, um, Yeah, if you vote for yes, then we're gonna get X million extra. I don't know. It's just it's a hard sell. It's hard to sell it on, but we're gonna get this extra money, so it really won't be that much until we actually know it's not gonna be that much. I mean
Right.
um the town may know that the John Burton company might know that how that works, and I don't. I'm just not knowledgeable enough to know. Because I think, Hazel's right. There's absolutely no question that that's the question you get from every person,
Yeah.
right? It's
For
how much
phase
coming out of
two.
my pocketbook.
Right. Yeah.
And
Um,
I know it, like, I agree with you. It's a ways off. Um, but it's still something that we need to, um, be able to address at some point. But,
yeah. And most of the grants that I'm not familiar with I think the CIF is Community Investment Fund. I think that's what that stands for.
hmm
That's not a grant that I have applied for or worked with, but most of the grants require some kind of a match, and most of the grants want to know that the money is committed in advance. So in other words, you don't you don't submit the grant and request a certain amount of money saying, "Oh, we think we're going to have, this to match." It's
oh,
you got to have the money in advance to match. So, like, yeah, we've committed, $5 million to this project, and we're going to use, uh, depending on, if it's a 50-50, then, we could apply for a $5 million grant to match what the town has already committed to give us 10
oh,
million. Yeah.
gotcha.
That's my experience with the grants, and they're not all 50-50. Some of them, we've been fortunate to receive a couple of recreation trails grants, and those are 80-20. And so the state puts up 80%, the town has to match 20%, but the town has to have committed to that ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's tracking all the possible grants and applying for them as needed? Is that you, Mark? And
Yeah,
if
the community investment fund, I think that's I think that's community development and planning department.
Town,
Um,
right? Town.
yeah, because that's a pretty big grant. Um, the grants that I work with are significantly smaller. They're 100,000.
I think town
So,
council also has to be in the loop on that too.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. We always have to get approval to, if we do receive a grant, the council's always wants to know what's that committing the town to. So sometimes grants are for, say, a particular position for a year or two, and the council wants to know, potentially what are we committing ourselves to? Because after that money is gone from the grant for that particular person or position, are we going to no longer fund that position, or are we in a situation where we've we've got an additional staff person?
does any one of us on the task force need to be looking for grants or doing anything along those lines?
Well, I know and you're probably, Hazel, I'm sure you're familiar. There's like a U.S. soccer grant to help build fields. I mean, that would certainly help. But again, I think my recollection is, and I don't want to dismiss, these grants, but it's a relatively small grant. I can't remember. It might be less than 50,000. I think. I don't. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, certainly anything like that that comes up, um, I'm not, other than the name of that grant, I'm not familiar with the commitment, but I'm assuming that the town has to have some kind of match up front.
I think if you identified anything, you could bring it to a council member or town employees attention and see what the next step would be. But I don't think you can usher the whole process through yourself.
So it sounds like I will take the action moving to write a letter, and we'll vet it through everybody. We'll just write a letter to the council reminding them about what we've decided before, and um, to keep them involved. And obviously, it's on their agenda, which is great. Which is
Right. You're gonna get it on their agenda. That's
right. So you want them to know that we're still here, and we
it
keep
took
fighting the
years to
fight.
get phase one on the agenda, so it's gonna take a couple years to get it back on their agenda, phase two. So anyway,
They're there. They got it already. Number one goal. I love it. Mark, just for my knowledge, is that out there somewhere? That like at I mean, they
it's a
have a lot
public
of
meeting.
meetings and then sub meetings, and I don't know. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
it was, I think last week's council meeting, if you wanted to watch that.
Yeah, I do. I'll find it.
Okay. Yeah,
Go
so
share
it
that.
would be last Tuesday. So 13th, backing that up would be the 6th, I think.
I mean, I that's awesome. I'm sorry. That's really good.
Yeah, it is.
Um, so I think for phase two, that really the only thing we'll write the letter, we'll tell them we're here, we'll the history, we'll put it all in there. And we'll send that to everybody. I'll probably send it to Mark to have him chew it up the first time, and then we'll send it to everybody. Um,
Yeah, and I think all of the youth sport organizations, I think the athletic field task force should try to reach out and, you know, share with them what our thoughts are for phase
mhm.
two, and suggest that they, well, I guess if they agreed, um, or disagreed, I guess, just make sure your voice is heard, because you're an important part of the whole process.
Right.
And, um, make sure you share your thoughts with the town council, because they're ultimately the ones that would make the decision of what phase two was
Right.
and or wasn't.
Right. I think, Ben, I might reach out once we actually send the letter to the council. Um, I think you being in the trenches with those everyone involved from a sports organization standpoint, I might reach out and come visit you, and we'll just sit down and make sure we get all the right. I struggled a little bit in the summertime trying to get all the right people to send like the presidents to. Some are more obvious than others. Um, but I think you probably have that at your fingertips.
I think
As you
they've had some turnover too,
sure.
or new
And
people.
it
So
happens. Right. I
yeah,
totally I understand
yep.
it. I've been there. Um, so it'll be well, because I'll take that same letter, attach it to something to all the presidents locally of organizations that we know of that utilize the fields, especially at Quantic right now. Um, and we'll forward to them with a note about, hey, send letters, blah blah blah, something like that. So that can work. That would work well.
If you really wanted to make sure that it got to the right place quickly, you would put it in some sort of flyer that was really short and to the point that could then be put on a website and on social media. So you could write an email, but people don't read them anymore.
Hmm.
But if you did like also attach,
Oh,
some kind of PNG format that could then just be sent right to social media, that would do um that would bridge the gap. Like right now,
Yep.
if you sent me an email, I'd have to then send it to for Groton Soccer Club. I'd then have to send it to our marketing person to have to work up some sort of flyer, and then he'd have to send
Oh,
it somewhere else. And by the time it just people lose steam and it just doesn't happen. So
okay.
if you
Good
actually just
idea.
go straight to the source with something that could be posted on social media, you
So they can take that and then just forward it.
yeah,
Perfect.
that would be the way to go.
Okay. Okay. Good. Um, does anybody have anything else? I don't want to.
Oh,
I think I've talked about everything that I had thought about. Um, so our next meeting is scheduled for the 19th, and I'm not going to be here that week.
well, let's change it.
Do you want to just move it to the next week for now? Which would be the
26.
26th um, of February. I feel like I have a birthday on that day, but
Your birthday or
not
somebody?
mine.
He's got to
Oh,
think about it.
yeah.
I have a definitely not mine.
That's
Stop.
that's how
You know, I'm
old Frank
super
is.
sensitive. I'm a very sensitive fella.
That's how old Frank is. He can't remember his own birthday.
Yep. I think he stopped counting at 70.
Whoa. Wow. Bang.
Ouch.
Um, it actually is. I have two birthdays in the family that day. No, not true. February 26th, I'm good. Peyton's is the 27th, so we're can't miss that. Um, yeah, so
Glad you
I
didn't say your
propose.
wife that was staying on the minutes.
Yeah, put it in minutes. I forgot my wife's birthday. Take that. Write it down.
No, it was a grandchild, but it's she's the 27th. I knew it was one day or the other. Um, so I propose we move the February meeting to the 26th of February, if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Um,
Make a motion to accept
okay,
that.
I'll second it.
Well,
Good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
you made the motion. You can't
I guess I
second.
made the motion.
I'll second.
Right.
Okay, Hazel can second it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I think I'm going. We're all good. Motion to adjourn by Danny. Second, Hazel. Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.